Welcome, 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 everybody, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dylan Garcia, and welcome to the Never Been Defeated podcast. This first episode, I really want to touch into specific areas of my life and things that I went through. I don't want to say that contributed to my mental health, but just stuff that wasn't really, stuff was kind of weird when I was growing up mentally. And I just want to touch base on these things. So, I'll start with around the time when I was growing up, pre-high school, so elementary school. And, I was a good kid. I was the type of kid that came home and I got all my homework for the whole week. The homework packet, I got that all done on Monday. So I'd have the rest of the week to hang out with my friends. Back then, we hung out outside. We did various things. But I played football in the street. We played street hockey. We played tackle football on somebody's grass, or we'd go to the park. We were always active as kids. Also, I played Little League sports. I played baseball growing up ever since T-ball. I think my first year of T-ball was when I was 5 or 6 years old. I started playing football when I got to junior high school. I got picked on a lot as a kid. I wore glasses, and I don't know. I think I was an ugly kid. If you saw a photo of me wearing my glasses, I don't know. My aunts say, I look so cute, but I had these glasses on. I was really into school. I was really a big time nerd. Like I said, I got all my homework done. I got into books. Like I really got into reading about World War II, history, stuff like that. My father, he used to make models when he was growing up. And he kind of shared that with me, and that was something that him and I did together. Was we build models, all these replicas of World War II planes, like a P-40, a P-51. There's the A-10 Thunderbolt, the F-14 Tomcat, F-16 Fighting Falcon, F-18 Hornet. These things, because you really took a lot of patience to just sit there and put these models together. So. It's something that I want to share with my son when I get older as well. But when I was a kid, I lived in a disciplined household. We had to get stuff done. Dad or mom asked you to get something done, you had to get it done, or you're going to hear about it. And so one of these things that I did was I always, I would turn the light switch off, like turning off the lights. But when I would do that, I'd keep my finger on it and I'd say, it's off, 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 it's off. It's like, I had to say that the light was off to myself 20 times before it was okay for me to walk away from that light switch. And, I don't know why I did it. I just did it. I just did it. It wasn't, I guess maybe I did it out of fear. Maybe it was out of routine, but just the fact that I wanted to make sure the light was off. So I would say that and do that, holding on the light switch and saying, off, the lights off, I had to convince myself, I don't know. That was just really, that always sticks out to me. One things in my childhood is that I used to do that. I used to be really adventurous. When we moved into our home, I was 6 years old. We moved into a neighborhood that was still being constructed. And, there was a park. It was nuts for us kids, because you imagine that they're just still doing construction on the rest of the neighborhood houses, and we caused havoc. We did a lot of crazy stuff, and childhood was good. One thing about my childhood was that I always had to do a good job, and there was no excuses. So when I played baseball, I'll admit this. So I played baseball, so I was about 10. I want to say maybe 10 or 11 years old. And I wore these glasses, and I begged for my parents to get me contact lenses, because I used to get picked on ferociously at school all the time. And my cousin would always come to my aid and fight the bullies for me that were always trying to pick on me. So I got picked on a lot as a kid. And so fast forward now, going into junior high school, my mom finally got me contact lenses. I mean, you imagine I'm only 12 years old trying to learn how to put contact lenses in. There wasn't a lot of patience in my household. And God, I'm definitely an impatient person myself. I definitely do try to change my ways, but there was not a lot of patience. Like, you had to get things done the right way or you're going to hear about it. And you had to get it done the right way the first time. There was never no room for error with anything. And so I went into junior high school. And junior high school, I went in with contact lenses. So this is when, like, the girls became attractive. And, I was quite the looker myself. Once I got rid of those glasses, man, I was shining like a stud, and I felt like it too. And my parents taught me the work ethic that you had to work for things. So during the summer going into junior high school, like, I was always responsible for buying my school clothes. My mom and dad stopped buying school clothes for me. They would just buy my underwears and my socks. So the rest was left up to me. So I had to hustle. I wanted to wear nice clothes. I've always dressed nice my whole life. I wanted to wear nice clothes. I wanted to look good. I wanted to impress the girls. So I worked. I was able to buy like Anchor Blue jeans when that was like a really big thing, Anchor Blue, and Miller's Outpost was still open. And I just wanted to look dope. And, the girlfriend started coming along in junior high. Junior high was cool. I went and actually switched little leagues, and I played at the little league on the other side of town. And I think having contacts made the difference, because one season when I was 10 years old, I didn't get a hit all season. I struck out, but I did not get a hit the entire season. I was like the guy that was on the bench the whole time with the glasses, just looking like a dork. And so junior high comes around, and it just opened a whole new world. Like, wow, it felt good. I felt like I was finally, had some sort of attractiveness to me. And so we went into high school. High school was cool. I transferred high schools in the middle of my junior year for sports reasons. I guess I'll get into it. Me and my best friend played the same position, either shortstop or second base. And it just so happened that my best friend's dad was really good friends with the coach. So you know what that means. Regardless of how good I played, I still got shitted on. And so I really got tired of it. And I transferred high schools to go play baseball at a different school. And that it wasn't about baseball anymore, because transferring schools exposed me to a whole new different culture of things. Like the first high school I went, there's a lot of gang members. There's a lot of drama going on campus. But when I transferred high schools, it was a lot smoother. It was a lot different. People were different. And I was welcomed with open arms when I transferred high school. My cousin was like the most popular guy in school. So it was just like, oh, this is my little cousin. And during that time, I had started surfing my junior year. I had gotten my driver's license, and I really wanted to get in the water. Well, I shouldn't say surfing. I started bodyboarding. And that really opened my eyes, because it was like, wow, I'm doing something that's just me in the water, and I'm not playing baseball like a team sport. And so that really started tugging at me. But at the same time, junior year, I was already looking at which colleges I wanted to go to. I was a great student. Like I said, I loved learning. I loved the task of learning something new. It was just incredible to me. And so UC Irvine had came to our campus, and I was really, really into UC Irvine. But at the same time, junior year, I had started the application process to go to West Point, the United States Military Academy, to become an officer. That was one of my goals. That was the goal. So I went through this rigorous process of trying to be a candidate. I had to meet with the congressman. I had to write a letter. There was just so much to the application process of going to West Point. And the thing was, I never did good on tests. I had a subpar. I couldn't get 1,000 on the SAT. I took the SAT like 9-10 times, and I could never break 1,000. And that really limited my chances of doing anything. And, it was hard to concentrate on these tests, because my mind was always moving 1,000,000 miles an hour, and it was just hard to focus on things. And so, high school graduation comes along, and I get a phone call about a month later about a month before I'm supposed to start West Point. I ended up getting accepted. I ended up receiving a nomination to go to West Point or the Air Force Academy. It was my choice. And I had chosen West Point. And that was what I was going to do. That was what I wanted to do at that time in my life, was to become a soldier, become an officer in the military. And because I couldn't break 1,000, they were willing to make an exception. Their bottom line was like 1,200, but they were willing to make an exception for me. All I had to do was get 1,000. Well, the last SAT test that I took, I tried my hardest, but I only got a 990. So, that 990 really changed the direction of everything. I was also bodyboarding at that time. I had no backup plan either. I had applied to San Diego State, senior year in high school, and I got accepted, but my parents didn't want me. They wanted me to go to the junior college. So that's what I ended up doing after I found out I couldn't go to West Point. And think about it. You're 17 years old. I think I was still 17, might have had just turned 18. And everything that I worked for since junior year of high school meant nothing. I guess, what I became as a man, I learned a lot through that process, but it didn't end up happening. So here I am having to start over from scratch, like figuring out what I'm going to do with my life. So I went to the junior college. The baseball coach from the junior college had worked with me, training. I used to do one-on-one pitching lessons and hitting lessons. And, he came by my house on my birthday. My parents threw me a big birthday party. And he came by and he's like, well, if you have no backup plan, why don't you come play college baseball with me? And so that's what I did. So immediately after high school, after that point, I went right into summer school. I went into summer school, taking weight classes, taking baseball, getting ready to really devote myself to being a collegiate baseball player. But I always had shoulder problems. And so, I ended up going to junior college, playing baseball, taking my classes. I used to take 4 classes a semester. So that was about 18 minutes, 16 to 18 minutes. And I didn't see college as something that you want to just cruise through. Like, if you want to get college done, you really got to be focused and get college done, because there's a lot of work that comes to it. And so I ended up hurting my shoulder right at the beginning of the actual season. So we had about 50 games during the preseason. But going into the season, that's when it was time to go. And I was playing shortstop, and it just so happened routine played a ground ball to first base, and my shoulder just could not do what I wanted it to do. And I was in so much pain. The coach took me out, had me see the trainer, and I couldn't even hold the baseball glove with my right arm. I was right-handed. So now back to square one again. I find out I have to have shoulder surgery. So I had shoulder surgery to reconstruct my shoulder so I could play baseball again. And it was like one of the top surgeons that I worked with, like the Los Angeles Dodgers, doing this procedure on me. But remember, I was still bodyboarding. I was still going to the beach. I was still doing that. That's what I would do with my friends. That's what I'd go do by myself, is just go get in the water, go surf, catch some waves. And so I'm starting back at square one. It just so happened, by the grace of God, that my good friend, one of my best friends growing up, his mother was the athletic counselor at school. And, I'm figuring out, okay, what is left for me to do in my city now? What do I need to do here? Like, I think I should go away to college. And so I met with her, found out my options, and I was going to be transferring as a sophomore. Now, remember, I had all those credits from taking summer school units, going into baseball season. I was taking, 16 to 18 units a semester. So this whole process of transferring began. But I was going to have to take summer school right after that and then go into the university. And I found out I could transfer as a sophomore, and the one thing that stuck out to me was that my SAT score didn't matter, because I had a 4.0 at the junior college. And my SAT score wasn't going to matter, because as soon as you started college, your SAT became irrelevant. And so, remember in high school, UC Irvine had come, and one of their admissions counselors came and talked to us. And so I applied at UC Irvine. I applied at UC Santa Cruz. I applied for UC Riverside, and I had applied for Fresno State. Those were the 4 schools. I ended up getting accepted into all of them. The only one I never heard back from was Santa Cruz. But the first letter that came in was from UC Irvine with an acceptance. I'll never forget, I was checking the mail every day waiting for these acceptance letters to come in, and I was really banking on going to UC Irvine. And I'll get into that in a little bit right now, but I just want to say, the feeling that I had when I found that acceptance letter, it was like, holy shit, I'm finally accepted somewhere. I felt accepted. I felt good about myself. I was like, yes, I got into UC Irvine. And at that time, UC Irvine was ranked number 16 in the entire nation of the best colleges to go to. So the fact that they let this Latino from Oxnard, California, was a Latino y Nativo Americano, into UC Irvine. Now, I had went to UC Irvine for a college visit with my cousin's fiance at the time. They're now married, but he went with me because I wanted somebody to go with me that had college experience. I'm a first generation that went to school. My parents didn't know anything about this process. And they weren't really that involved either. It was like I kind of took the reins. I figured out all the information I needed to figure out so I can go on this journey and make it happen. And I did. I got into UC Irvine. And at that time, I was working at the bank as a bank teller. And I found out that there just happened to be the same bank on campus at UC Irvine. So I talked to my bosses, let them know I'm going to go to school and I want to place a transfer. And I went down to the school for orientation and went to the bank. I did my interview with the bank by the school, the same bank that I worked for. Boom, I got accepted. They were going to transfer me. So look at this situation. I just finished a whole year of junior college, summer school, the school year, and then summer school again. I got into the school of my choice, the number 1 school, because that school is a beautiful school. I was really in love with the architecture. I was really in love with the location, and Newport Beach was only a couple miles away, so I could still surf. And wow, I remember moving out there. So I planned it. I wanted to get out of my house so bad and experience life, was that I planned it to start working. So I planned it so I would move out there a month before school started. So the first week I had time to just explore Orange County. I went surfing. I met people. I just had a really good time. And then that second week was when I started working at the bank. The bank thing was cool because it was just, walking right into a job. And I still had time before school started. So I was living with a buddy of mine from junior high school, ended up going to UC Irvine too. And I ended up staying with him for the month until I could move into campus housing, because I lived on campus when I first started there as a sophomore. And I remember my mom was so adamant that I buy one of those miniature fridges to have in my dorm room. And that was incredible time. College was an incredible time. I got to school. I met some people. I ended up pledging for a fraternity. I won't say the name of the fraternity, but I ended up pledging for a fraternity for about 9 weeks before I was over it. You got to imagine, Latino coming from Oxnard, you're thrown into the college environment. There's so much diversity. So being from Oxnard, it's primarily Latino. Going to Orange County, like when I moved out there, I'm talking, you got everything, every race and ethnicity you could think of. The diversity out there, just like, wow, there's places like this that exist. I'm telling you, when you get out of your hometown, you really see what the world has to offer. And started going to school. I majored in criminology, law, and society. That was my major. So the goal was to go to school, because this whole time, the whole purpose of going to West Point was to become a military lawyer. So this was my thing. I'm going to be a lawyer. I have to be a lawyer. This was my thing. Well, that first week of school really changed my mind about what I wanted to do afterwards. I saw how much these people other students were studying for the LSAT. And I'm just like already thinking like I couldn't even get 1,000 on my SAT. How the hell am I going to do good on this LSAT? And I just was like, you know what? Maybe that's just not what I'm supposed to do. And I realized that, and just went to work and went to work with school. I studied on the weekends. I was a really diligent student. Like, I was really diligent with my studies. I was disciplined. I wrote my papers. I was never dropping classes because it didn't work out. Like, I made a promise to myself because I saw how many people would just drop. Oh, I don't like this class, I'm going to drop it. And it was like, no, I picked this class. I'm going to stick with it regardless if I like it or not. Even if it means I'm going to have to work my ass off to get just a C to get by. But I'm not going to quit. Like, I never had that quit attitude. Like, you don't like something, so just drop the class. Like, you imagine what kind of mentality that's teaching you. Like, oh, I don't like this, so I'm just going to drop it. Like, don't look at challenging situations like, oh, you know what, I'm going to find the easy way out. Because that's what 90% of the world does, is try to find an easy way out. I wasn't like that with myself. I was hard on myself. I was my biggest critic. And I got out of the fraternity. I was told, by some of these guys, because so what I did with this pledgeship when I was in the fraternity, I was the social chair. So I was the guy they would send to all the sorority houses to plan the party. So I'm hanging out with all these chicks, sorority chicks, and this and that. And, our president of the pledge class ended up dropping. So then they picked me to be the president of the pledge class. And I'll get into this story. You know what? I'll tell this story. So we were partying one night, and the guy that had already graduated was all drunk. He was hammered. And he thought it'd be cool that if he take all the pledges to Aldrich Park, which is the park in the middle of the campus in Irvine, and to basically use us as target practice with pellet guns. And I wasn't having it. I wasn't going to let that happen to any of my pledge bros. I was the president, so I had to protect them. And if I thought something was out of line, I was going to stand up and say it. And that was one of the first things when I really raised my voice to something that I thought was out of line, and I voiced my opinion about it as opposed to just being quiet. And that moment right there was a pivotal moment in my life. Because I would have had the girls, I would have had a job lined up when I graduated school, I would have had all this stuff. But it's like, no, dude, you're not going to shoot at me. You're not going to shoot at my pledge classes just because you want to have fun and you're drunk. I valued myself, and I valued the lives and the safety of my fellow pledge bros. And I said, I ain't having it, I'm done. They sent different guys to my dorm room the whole week trying to convince me, but I was like, nah, man, I'm not doing this. I don't need to hang out with people that bad to go to these kind of lows. And so I walked away. And, there was a couple things that some of those guys told me that really stuck with me. You'll always be a loner. That's what it said. You'll always be a loner. And without us, you'll never amount to anything. So, okay, I guess that was the right reason why I walked away if they're willing to tell me stuff like that. And just ended up moving to Newport Beach the following school year with some friends of mine that I had made on school. We ended up getting a house right by the Wedge. Now, if you don't know what the Wedge is one of the most massive, biggest waves. When the waves are big, that will smash you when they come from the swells to the south swells. I lived right around the corner from that spot. That place was always happening. I would surf there a couple times, but that place will do some damage. You'll wake up, you'll get out of the water with sand in places in your body that you never knew could get there. And we lived there, man. It was like we were living a cool life. Like, how could you imagine? I think I was only 20 years old, living right down the street from the beach, living in a beautiful area, a very wealthy area of Newport Beach. And we luckily scored a house. And so I lived that year, but there was some stuff that happened that year that began to affect me. Now, I never really spoken on this stuff with anybody before, possibly my wife, maybe a couple close people. But, what really messed with me was that year. That was my junior year of college altogether. I had to write, you had to pass a class called Upper Division Writing. In upper division writing, you had to get a C or you couldn't graduate. And that class was tough for me because the teacher's assistant really, really had it out for me. He didn't want me to pass. He really just, there's people in life that don't want to see you succeed, and he was one of those in my life. And I had to write a 20-page paper. So what did I write my 20-page paper on? Was confidence. I wrote it on confidence, and I used the setup at the wedge, bodyboarding these huge waves when they're big, and the confidence that you need to accomplish that. But while I was into this paper, my younger brother was going through some dark times. And, me and my brother are 4.5 years apart. My brother had attempted suicide those years. So he was a junior in high school. I was a junior in college. He had attempted suicide a couple times. And I'll never forget, because I was writing the paper for this upper division writing class, when I got the phone call from my father that my brother was in the hospital because he tried cutting his wrist. And that will really fuck with you. It will. Especially, it really messed with me because I felt selfish. I felt selfish that here I am living a good life, going to school, like making the best of it. And I kind of abandoned my little bro. Like I said, my parents were disciplined people with us. And I felt as like, damn, am I doing the right thing? Like, am I being selfish because I'm trying to go to school and get a degree and improve my life? Is it selfish of me because I left my younger bro? And I had a little sister too. She was only maybe 2-3 years old at that time. And, it really shocked the shit out of me, because it's like, man, what am I doing here? Like because we all love our family, or at least we want to love them. And I felt guilty that this was going on with my brother. So senior year comes around, we all go our different ways from the house. The thing with those houses in Newport, you can rent them for 9 months. But then when summer comes around, it's like what you're paying for the month is what it costs to rent the pad for a week. So everyone usually ditched out of Newport during summer. A lot of students went back home. I actually moved back to campus where I used to live when I first started going to school at Irvine, because it was really cheap. You could share a room with somebody, and you had everything you need. So that's what I did, because it was cheaper. And at that point, my parents were basically like, you got to do this on your own. They didn't like the girl that I was dating. So I got wrapped up in this crazy relationship in junior, just pretty much all through damn college. And senior year, I decided that I was going to move in with this woman that I was dating. She had already graduated, and we were going to move in together and try to make it work. But being in that relationship, man, I'm telling you, God didn't make it easy for me. Being in that relationship, it was really toxic. It was really crazy. She got physical. There was just a lot of stuff for me to take on, and I had just barely turned 21 years old. So that was a big monumental moment in my life that really changed things. Really changed the way I looked at people. Really changed the way I trusted people. It really changed the way I looked at myself. And going through that traumatic event while I'm away at school, my brother's in the hospital, like damn. Taking a good look at myself in the mirror, like, am I doing the right thing? Because think about it. A couple years before that, I was supposed to go to West Point, and you got to remember that life doesn't just come easy. Life is tough. Life will break you down. It doesn't matter who you are, how much money you got in your bank account. Life will break you down. And so I'm going into my senior year living with this woman. We had an apartment right up the street from the beach. I had set a goal, because during college, that junior year, when this stuff happened with my brother, that whole year I competed. I pushed myself. I wanted to do competitions for bodyboarding, and it was all up and down the California coast. And that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to make a name for myself in this bodyboarding world and be in the magazine eventually. So that winter, junior year, I was going to try and go to Hawaii, but I just couldn't make it happen. I would have went out there and just gone broke. But the senior year of school, remember I told you about all those classes that I took at the junior college? Well, it ended up putting me ahead in credits. So I could either graduate early or take the time off and come back and graduate with everybody. So I made the decision. I didn't talk to my parents about it. I made this decision for myself. I had the money. I was already 21 years old. I saved up my money. I was going to go to the North Shore. North Shore of Oahu with the boys. And so I'm living with this chick, and it's time for me to go to the North Shore. And, this chick, it had been off and on, it was just a shady relationship. And, but it was the relationship that I was in college. And this woman wouldn't let me get out of this relationship. Let's put it that way. And so I leave to the North Shore of Oahu. Funny story about that, because this was like kind of it started the trip started like on good vibes. Homegirl, my girlfriend at the time, drops me off at the airport. I got to go up the escalator to go through security, and 9/11 had already happened, so things were kind of locked down when it came to travel. That's when a lot of things changed in our lives. We're saying our goodbyes, we're hissing, we're kissing, we're hugging, and all this. I'm gonna miss you. She was crying. I'm gonna miss you. Blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Whole like romantic comedy kind of movie. So I go up the escalator. I go through security, get all my stuff checked out. I get checked in. This is at LAX, and this woman comes up to me, and she says, "Hey, you're not going to Waikiki, are you?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm going to the North Shore." And she said, "That's what I thought. How are you getting there?" And I'm like, to be honest with you, and this is a true story. This is honest to God. This is all stuff that stays in my memory. I'm supposed to have some guy pick me up, but he wants to charge. First he said he was going to charge me $30, but now he wants to charge me $50. And she says, "You know what? Save your money. My sister lives on the North Shore. She's going to pick me up. I already called her and told her that you're coming with. She's taking it in that you're coming with us, and she's going to pick us up from the airport." So I'm like, cool. Like, it just started out, and that's what I love the most about life when you don't have any plans. Because I went out there solo. I knew that there was other competitors in bodyboarding that were going to be out there, but I went out there solo. No, I was going to figure it out for my damn self, and that's just the type of person I am. The courageous dude that's always willing to try something new. And we arrive on the North. We arrive in Oahu. We're picking up our bags, and this woman was beautiful. She was from Orange County. I lost contact with her sister. We'd still be friends to this day. So we land, we get our bags. There's her sister waiting with Lay's. Like right when I got off the plane and got my stuff, her sister was waiting. And that's the one that's so cool about when you go to Oahu is you get laid. And sister picks us up. We hop in this Pathfinder, and we're on our way to the North Shore. When you're on your way to the North Shore, a lot of pineapple fields. A lot of the dirt is like red dirt. It's all that lava stuff. We make it to the North Shore. She drops me off where I'm staying at the hostel. And I don't know if you know what a hostel is, but a hostel is when you travel, usually you pay for a bed. You got a place to sleep. Place is called Backpackers. It was one of them. So I made it. North Shore. I'm going to wrap this up, and you're going to have to wait for the next episode. But I made it to the North Shore. Met this cool Latino who was from like Florida. We ended up going to Surf Pipeline together. I caught one wave. It was a fun day, but there was like 1,000,000 people in the water surfing Pipeline. But I got one. Caught the edge on one. I got one. It's like, hell yeah. I already surfed Pipeline my first day on the North Shore. Like I said, it wasn't that big. It was fun. So I get back. There's people that I've seen in the magazines that are staying in this hostel. And I had no problem saying what's up to people, starting a friendly conversation. So I meet these people. I go down to the grocery store called Food. Everything's within, it's only like a 3-mile stretch of land where the North Shore is. Met Andre Bota. He was like the world champion a couple years before. 2-time world champion. I met just a bunch of, I met some dudes that I seen in the magazine from Australia. Some of the California boys were all staying where I was staying at. And, you know, that was a great trip. I'm going to end it on there. You guys have a great day. Remember, you can accomplish anything you put your mind to. Never give up. Remember, you may have been knocked down, but you're never defeated. My name is Dylan Garcia. I'll catch you guys the next time around.